Let's start by saying that we assume that you have correct mapping and you have programmed your drums on the drums you're going to map on the SSD5. I always pick you because there's no reason to pick any other. Even if you're working on a fast-paced song, you need less room. You're going to be able to mix it accordingly. I'll show you in this tutorial. By the way, this is the new format I'm working on, and it's dedicated to the people who pay the members level 2, pay $14.99 a month, and I have full mix tutorials, full uh, mix breakdowns of songs you already know, new mixes, and everything has been done with using the NS10s, which is another level of confidence. And I'm attempting to show you with this tutorial. Okay, so you see me raising the faders in the mixer of the SSD5 to the max. I do this because some of them have very low gain, and I just want to get the maximum out of them. Still, we're working 32 bits, so you will see later how the signal is not clipped, even though it might surpass 0 sometimes. The other thing is that the purple tracks in the SSD5 mixer are stereo as opposed to the blue ones. So we have to create as many purple stereo tracks as they are there, and we have to make sure that we are assigning the blue tracks to the mono outputs, which are after, paradoxically, and using the stereo outputs, which start at 2, channel 2, for the purple tracks, and create the same amount in Pro Tools. Once we have finished assigning the external outputs to each track on the SSD5 mixer, then we do a final review to make sure we are sending each track to the correct location before we create the same amount of tracks in Pro Tools. First, we count the amount of tracks, of mono tracks, in the mixer of the SSD5, and we create that same amount of mono tracks in Pro Tools. Then we assign using Shift and Control channel, so we can populate the inputs of all those channels with scaling inputs according to what we have said already in SSD5. Now, if we put all these mono tracks into record or input monitoring mode and we hit play, we should be able to hear to the to these mono tracks. Now we are missing the stereo room and overhead tracks, so we have to create the same amount of purple tracks we have in stereo channels in Pro Tools, and then assign the same outputs. And once we have done this, then we just rename with the same names they have in the mixer of SSD5, so we can start mixing, well, transferring and then mixing our own drums. Now, finally, I come around to create the stereo tracks. Here we use the same key command, which is Alt, Shift, Control, and then we select the first output, the first stereo output, which is O2, right? And yes, it's O2. And we will populate a output 2 or output 3, output 4, exactly like we assign in the outputs of the SSD5. And then we should have the full sound of our drums ready to be recorded. Well, there was one extra track that I didn't need. It happens. The important thing is to get the routing and the names correctly, so you are mixing the kick instead of mixing something else. I mean, you're mixing the kick when you see the track that says kick. Another thing that's important to mention is that we have to activate delay compensation. Otherwise, we would have to an offset uh, between the real hit and the MIDI track and the audio track, and you will have to correct that manually. You can do it. It doesn't matter if as long as you grab all the tracks together, you can correct it manually. But you can avoid all this just by activating early in your session or just by default delay compensation. And this time, well, it seems to we seem to be ready to for the recording part, which is just hitting play and record and let it run. It has to be in real time, so you feel free to skip ahead. I let the record run until I look at the meters and see no peak indicators. Then I stop it. Uh, the next step is to make sure that we have the correct amount of gain, and we can correct this visually because in Pro Tools, as long as you press Alt A, it reset the edit window. You have the ability to make coincide zero with the end of the waveform in that view. So I just move it manually a few millimeters below that, which is around -6, -8, or whatever it is. It works for me, and it triggers my plugins pretty much very accurate. You will see that we have many tracks that we didn't use, like some of the toms, and I believe the right symbol. So we're going to just get rid of them. Not the same with the SLR uh, track or something similar, hi-hat, which we might need, even though this drum has a lot of hi-hat bleed on the overheads. You rarely need to add more. I hope you're watching this on a big screen so you don't miss any of the subtleties of what the mouse is doing, because in my case, I haven't been able to. I have a huge my I have a huge mouse pointer, but I only see it myself when I record in OBS. I am not able to get it to get the same size. It just defaults to what Windows comes with, and I apologize for that. But I haven't. It's been years, and I haven't figured it out. Now with just the bass and the guitars and maybe the vocals, we can start mixing.
All right. Now dig this, baby.
I didn't notice the first time, but the snare up tracks are clipping. Let me show you that even though they come clip from the SSD software, they are not square wave or anything like that. They're just we didn't lose anything because of the 32-bit architecture. Now it's time to create our crush. Well, Andrew Shep's crush, which is a kick and snare track in which we use Control Alt H, which is copy to send. So we have the same controls that we have in the faders. We have it in the sends. Then we set them to pre-fader. So we have a completely independent copy of kick and snare. In the case of sample drums like this, I like to take the snare up. Well, you might have noticed it's my favorite snare microphone for the amount of volume I put it in. And this is the one I'm going to use for the reverb. I want to get the shiny Bob Clare Mountain kind of quality from it.